folks, Doc Jones coming at you tonight. Doc Jones Studios with my boy Spock in the house tonight. All right, folks. All right, Spock, easy, Spock. All right, folks, we're gonna talk a little bit about those Foo Fighters. You know, not these Foo Fighters, but some interdimensional being Foo Fighters, maybe. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. All right, folks, we're looking at April 23rd, 2020 years. So they say. All right, folks. Doc Jones, I'm going to bring you, like you said, Foo Fighters is coming tonight. The Foo Fighters is coming tonight. And folks, I'm going to get into this. I'm going to try not to trail off too much, folks, but there's so much deception, so much stuff coming from the black box in our living rooms and bedrooms that we listen to, that we should be more careful who we're trusting in these days. Let's trust in the Lord and not trust in anybody else that's speaking on our devices. Let's just go with that. All right, folks. So I've got some interesting news. The Foo Fighters. These Foo Fighters are from World War II. So this dates back, of course, it looks like we had a Project Blue Book, not Blue Beam, like I mentioned on my last video. This is Project Blue Book that was, I believe, originated in 1952. And this Project Blue Book contains UFO investigations. Now, of course, World War II was before 1952, of course, ended in 1945. We should know the story. We should know some history about our world wars, folks. But this Foo Fighter deal is very interesting. And I'm going to just continue on with this Foo Fighters. This is amazing, folks. Okay, so the 415th Night Fighter Squadron, this is U.S. Squadron in World War II, started seeing some mysterious glowing lights. They were orange. They were also red. These objects also glowed in the dark. And these, like you said, it looks like the locations were in northern France, Italy in 1945. We're talking, again, with what I was just originated from, 1944, from the U.S. 415th Night Fighter Squadron. So these objects were seen during the war as these pilots were up in the air in their planes. Of course, you know, back in those years, our technology still wasn't anywhere close to what we have it today. But yeah, on December the 14th of 1944, there was newspaper articles that came out trying to describe these mysterious objects. And also British intelligence was investigating these objects, these glowing objects. They maneuvered with high speeds. You can imagine, you know, they're in their small planes and, you know, flying around, shooting each other, doing all kind of maneuvers and tests and looking out for each other, you know, enemies on both sides there. And so, you know, there was only so much of a top speed that man could create with aircraft in those days. But these things were going a lot faster than the aircraft during World War II. Now, these things, again, it said they were plasma-like looking. They were going at a high rate of speed. They were anywhere from, like, I've heard 1 to 3 feet in diameter. They have honestly kind of at times, I see here, it says here, folks, it says here that they were spotted kind of around the world, especially during these times. But again, our U.S. Air Force, military, probably the German, the French, have some intel on these objects that they called the Foo Fighters. And we'll go. I'm going to continue through. If y'all just hold with me tonight, folks. Thank you again, all 36 subscribers. Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it, gals. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for, again, y'all are alerting me on stuff that I'm not aware of. Sometimes I might be aware of, but y'all included some information there, some other tags to get to some some links. Thank you for the links, folks, is what I'm trying to say. Thank you for those links. And I just appreciate all y'all for viewing, all y'all for subscribing and hitting that like button. Appreciate it. That helps me out a lot. But I'm going to continue on, folks, with these Foo Fighters, and I'll get to some explanations. Again, Foo, they said Foo is it's like a French word for fire. And then we continue on that the Foo Fighters, folks, they got that name from the U.S. pilots. They nicknamed these objects, these glowing objects, these red and orange colored circular objects from possibly 1 to 3 feet in diameter, small objects. But there was a Smokey Stover comic strip in during those times, and they picked up on that and said, hey, we'll call them the Foo Fighters. And the story continues through, folks. But this Richard Haynes has a PhD. He's a research scientist. He did an interview, and folks, you can go to YouTube. This is declassified. None of this stuff that I give out is classified material. It's on YouTube. It's on the internet. I just like to bring it to folks' attention. It's stuff that we would never really hear about unless we really were looking and investigating. I'm doing, studies in Genesis 6 with the fallen ones, and you can see the Nephilim there. The giants, as it's called in the scriptures, the giants, but then you look in the Greek, you can see the Nephilim there. And so there's other entities out there, folks, and so I try to bring up investigations on, basically, I like to see these anomalies, folks like to call it these days, anomalies, these strange, mysterious, aerial phenomenon. A lot of us talk about UFOs. We're continuing to see objects in the sky. And if you've got different folks' channels, there's a lot of objects being seen in our skies, a lot more. Of course, now we have all this technology to see this stuff, but it's like it's really becoming widespread around the globe. People are seeing objects, especially around volcanoes. But anyway, I don't want to trail off. So yeah, folks, so we're talking about World War II here. And this scientist, Richard Haynes, he did a report several years back, and they posted this on YouTube, and he goes on to say about these Foo Fighters, these glowing objects. They were luminous balls of light coming from the ground. Now, we're going to get into this here, folks. Hold on tight with me here. They were glowing, luminous balls of light coming from the ground. And he says here, 1 to 6 feet in diameter here, he says, changing from orange to red. They would accelerate to the pilot's altitude, and then they would level off. Okay, so the pilot's up here, the Foo Fighter comes up quickly, and then levels off with the pilot. And then, of course, the pilot's like, what's going on, Spock? Do you have anything to say on these Foo Fighters? I know you've seen them. I know you've seen them. But yeah, folks, so these Foo Fighters, y'all. So again, he continues on. They go into a rigid formation. They seem to be guided. They're usually in pairs. They just sit along the plane. They would, like I said, they would accelerate, go up, level off, and they would stay with the plane. And you can see in some of the videos, you can literally see these balls of lights, the pictures they took from the other pilots. And it's amazing, folks. These little circular balls, some of them were kind of circling around the airplanes. Some of you could see were kind of alongside the wing or out in the distance. Some of them were hovering just around different areas of these planes. So also in November of 1944, in Japan, one of our B-29 planes actually reported a Foo Fighter. And there was an article in the New York Times that described and talked about what was seen. And it was basically what I had just discussed about these objects, these colorful, glowing objects. And several of these were reported around this B-29 plane in Japan in November of 1944. Again, the New York Times published this. They said these balls of fire, these balls of light, these fireballs that they called them back in the day during those 1940s, because the term UFO really had not been brought up yet. So they really did not use UFO. It was a UFO. That's why that word is not being used to describe what these pilots saw. The UFO had not been originated yet. So anyway, so again, these balls, they were going at high rates of speed. They were anti-gravity like. They were faster than any aircraft that was out there on either side of the war. In fact, folks, both sides thought that was some kind of new technology being used on them. And they were like, what's going on here? Is this German Nazi? Is this German technology, Or is this United States technology? Is this French or what kind of technology? Where did it come from? That was really what they were trying to figure out as well, because they weren't doing any harm. That's the thing. Apparently, there was no harm being done by these objects during World War II. They would just hover around our aircraft, and I guess as well as the German aircrafts. Now, it's continuing on. Thank you for holding on, folks. Thank you for holding on. I thought this was very interesting to bring up tonight, folks. These were also seen in the Korean War. The British, of course, were in that war before the U.S. entered, and they actually saw it even before the U.S. pilots did. So we're looking at September 1941 that these objects were seen. So folks, this technology for us wasn't even out during this time that we know of. Spot, I know you had it, but for us on Earth here, we didn't have this kind of technology. So, I could continue on. I've got a lot more information, but one of our P-61 Black Widow fighter pilots, these pilots would fly during the night, and that's when they found out these objects glow at night. And they said that they actually shot at some of these objects, and they would shoot at them in their plane, but the objects never returned fire. So, all right, folks. I hope everybody's doing well out there. But yeah, folks. So it's a phenomenon. It's an anomaly, I guess. It's never really been explained. I'm sure that our government and other governments have some serious pictures and information on it that they're not releasing. But yeah, folks. So I'll come back at y'all later on, maybe another day or two more, because I've got some other information that I want to release to y'all again about the blue and the red Kachina from the Hopi prophecy. And I'll get into all of that as well on hopefully my next video. So folks, there's so much out there I could discuss tonight. There's so many things I would like to discuss that YouTube would probably not like me to discuss on. But yeah, so folks, the Foo Fighters. So folks, again, we've got to be ready, folks. We got to be prepared. We got to be ready for the things that are coming. We got to be ready at all times. We got to have our soul ready to go. It's going to get it's going to get pretty crazy. This year is going to be crazy, and next year is going to be even crazier. And I'm going to go into a lot of stuff, folks. I'm going to inform. I'm a messenger. I'm going to bring it to you. I'm a watchman. I'm going to bring it to you. And so, folks, again, like I said, I've got so much information here, so much little time. It takes a while for me to upload these videos. That's why I try not to do one too long, and I've already gone extremely too long now. So, folks, y'all have a good night. I'll come back at you. Y'all hold on tight and keep the faith. Keep the faith, folks. Hold on tight. Keep that faith grounded firm. Keep those roots of our faith in Christ buried deep in the ground. Hold it. Hold firm through the end times, folks. We're in the end times. Let's hold on tight.